Adventures in Filbar. For all your role-playing needs, try the free stuff first.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight on Between the Rolls, M Hobo Inc.'s talk show. This is the Socium edition. Socium has been a project that we've been working on all year long, and this is our last episode for the world building. After this, we're going to start going into actually playing games and one-shots, and I don't know, might even get a campaign out of it. Who knows? Out of the world that we created all year. So, yes, tonight I would like to thank our sponsors, Oddfish Games. They've been a long-term sponsor for us. They've come out with products like, let's say, Adventure Sense. That's one thing that they have. I mean, we do have an incident. It's posted somewhere of, Kyle and inhaling some of that, and we don't recommend that. Anyway,
we recommend it. You totally should do it. Absolutely.
Right. No, don't. Yes. So, Oddfish Games with Adventure Sense. They also come out with writing systems. They have the Shine system that helps you write a lot better than Frank, and the Radiant system that actually helps you write for RPGs and things like that. Still much better than Frank. I'm just kidding, Frank. They came out with the Kickstarter, How to RPG with Your Cat, which has launched. It was fully funded. I think Radiant system is off a Kickstarter because I believe our fellow hobo Kevin actually has it. He showed it on the air. He said it's a great system. He loves it. Our other sponsors tonight is Pirate Dog Dice. If you want dice that are really, really cool, Carrie will hook you up. They're great. Frank will tell you they're just infallible. I mean, what can I say? We've been murdered a bunch of times by Carrie's and Frank's creative dice. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, tonight, like I said, we have our panel. Unfortunately, one of our guests couldn't make it tonight. That is Spencer. Spencer, we hope you feel better soon, man. Tonight we have John and Ian. John, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Alrighty. I'm John Bolin, and I go by Virtue Adept online. You can hit me up, Virtue Adept on Discord, on Instagram, on pretty much on the Murder Hobo. Discord would be a good place to find me. I have been role playing a really long time. I got involved in the Socium project back when this started almost a year ago, and I'm now on the Pillars of Jocularity, which is every other Thursday, not Tuesday, and Thursday. It's coming up in 2 days. So be sure and check back in a couple of days, and you can see me play Darius the Street Urchin. So
he's a great character. I swear, if you haven't seen Pillars of Jocularity, folks, you definitely have to. It's pretty damn funny. So is that it, John? That's all you got? All right. Ian, how about you, sir?
Well, howdy. I will say that I like long walks on the beach, candlelight dinners, hand holding. I am the forever GM of the podcast Wandering Monster, where every Wednesday evening, at least in Eastern Central time zone, I run a different TTRPG or adventure. to kind of highlight different independent RPG creators and publishers. Been running games since since 2000, so I guess that's 22 years of running content. So I've been part of Socium since the beginning. So exciting to definitely be part of the first and then the last episode. So the alpha and the omega here.
Awesome. And folks, I am David, otherwise known as D&Devious on Twitter. I usually post stuff updates here on Murder Hobo Inc., as well as things from some of our friends and associates. As a matter of fact, I work with one of our associated programs. That is Game Night Heroes. That is a podcast started by Kevin. It's a great project. I'm happy to be with that. I've been with Murder Hobo for about 3 years now. I started off with the Cacophony campaign that it turned into. It's been great. Currently, I'm in the Calamity campaign. I play Crow on the B side and Ingve on the A side. So if you get a chance, you can check us out. We're like every other Saturday. So we usually have an alternating campaign. Usually the Saturday following our one shots, and one shots are always available. They're up for grabs. Every week we put out a casting call. So if you want to join us here on Murder Hobo, all you have to do is just email us, and you can get in a game. It's as simple as that, folks. We have links somewhere around here. We do have merchandise for sale. That is at tinyurl.com/RPG swag. We have t-shirts, hoodies, especially hoodies since it's getting cold. There we go. That's something new that John has. The Pillars of Jocularity coffee mug. That is awesome, along with his other swag back there too. So all kinds of stuff. We even have skateboards. Murder Hobo logo on it. They're great. Anyway.
Does someone have the skateboard? And if so, can they do a gnarly trick?
We definitely want to see
John,
that.
can you shred the gnar?
I cannot.
He can clean the cube.
Fall off on it though.
Actually,
man!
As a fun thing there, since you actually went right to gleaming the cube, a real fun game. One of the ones I've run on Wandering Monster is Skate Wizards, which is put out there by Loot the Body. If you like TTRPG inspired music, Loot the Body is fantastic. But they had a collaboration of making their own 80s, 90s gnarly skate punk wizard themed game. A lot of fun. You do get to gleam the cube and shred the gnar.
Nice.
Totally radical, dude.
It really
is.
That's pretty fun.
I keep saying I am gonna get the skateboard just to have the deck hanging on the wall back here. So
It'd be cool.
Anyway, eventually I'm gonna get it. Eventually. So okay. Tonight we're going over our holidays or whatever for Socium. This is the last episode that we have for this, and if you tuned in like the last week, I believe we had the Socium project just because of the way scheduling is this week. That was really interesting, just some of the holidays these guys come up with. So it's gonna be fun to see what Ian and John has come up for their lands of Socium. So without further ado, let's get started on our second installation of Holidays of Socium. John, do you want to kick us off with yours, man?
Sure. We're gonna start with Jubilor, which is kind of on the southeast part of the map. It's near the Wyvern Pass. Jubilor is mostly forested. There's a big, huge swamp called Pleasant Swamp, where a lot of the lizard folk live. Most of the forest is it's elves who kind of run that show. There's a large city, Mirthwall, which is on Wyvern Pass. What they have in as far as holidays is the big one is called Unification Day. This was when I forgot her name, Queen Slithia the First, who was a lizard folk, brokered a deal with the elves of the jubilant forest in order to help them push back an invasion from Sahagin that were threatening the lizard folk in the swamps. And so at the City of Unity is where that that treaty was signed.
Mhm.
And that's where they agreed to join the elves together to form the nation of Jubilor. And so on Unification Day, that's when they signed the agreement. And then shortly after that, the elves, rangers, and whatnot helped fight the back the Sahagin and save the lizard folk, who then joined the elves in kind of doing the nation. Now the lizard folk mostly still stick to the swamp areas, and the elves mostly still stick to the forested area. However, there are, especially along the border there between those, there's a lot of communities that have lizard folk and elves working side by side. On They also call it Fish Fry Friday because
Oh
the
man.
kids will dress up like Sahagin and run around with Sahagin masks and kind of play tricks on the elders and whatnot. And they have fish fries on that day and outdoor typesy stuff, and kind of like sort of like the United States Independence Day, except more fishy,
More fishy, more fish
more
oriented.
fishy, less barbecue,
Yeah.
more fish,
Oh
less hot
man.
dogs.
Yeah, where I'm from in Louisiana, man, that's a typical weekend, man. Fish fry,
Exactly.
crawfish boil, something like that. So, I mean, so I'm getting the impression that, like you said, playing tricks on the elders and something like that. So I'm envisioning something like, I don't know, like Halloween and 4th of July, kind of Independence Day, kind of
A
mixed
little
together.
bit of that, because they do dress up, so they wear their costumes. But it's not like they almost always be like Sahagin or one of the creatures that was allied with the Sahagin, that
Mhm.
so yeah, it's a little bit more restrictive than Halloween as far as dressing. But it is sort of a little bit like Halloween in some respects.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've also got a holiday called the spring equinox, and this is when the first day of spring, and it's considered very important because Jubilor is a very nature oriented nation, and so when spring starts, life starts to bloom again. It's a beginning, it's a new beginning. And so it is it's a time when a lot of the people dress up like fey creatures or forest creatures, or sometimes flowers. Like they like to dress up and wear like flower, or just wear flowery shirts. Sometimes it depends on how much they're into it. A lot of the merchants in Mirthwall, who are not elves or whatever, aren't foresty people, a lot of them won't participate. And so that started a thing which was more like Halloween, in the sense that a lot of the kids would play pranks on these vendors who refused to participate. So then the vendors who wanted to still run their business but not get the wrath of the local children started giving out small prizes, candies, pastries, things like that, in order to appease them. And so the kids will go up to them and say spring surprise, and when they do, the shopkeepers will give them something to keep them, from messing up their stores.
Nice. It's like Halloween at the malls.
That's
All the
very
stores.
similar. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They also have the Samhain in the fall, and
Mhm.
and some other like Druidic or Wiccan type cultural type things. They're equivalents. They're not identical to, but they have their own little Jubilar twist. But a lot of their
Sure.
holidays are based on that type of lore.
Yeah, yeah, I would say a lot of the nature spirituality and stuff like
Mhm.
that. That's probably comes from the elven influence.
Right. And summer solstice, winter
Mhm.
solstice. There's the Oberon's Day, which is a worship with it's a religious holiday based on Lord Oberon of the Fae, and that one is more solemn. It's a more respectful type holiday. I guess they don't want to get his wrath.
Right, right. Well, then that's pretty cool. So is there any ceremony involved? Like any special, like, I don't know. You mentioned that the whole thing with the Sagan and the elves, do they have like, I don't know, like a reenactment ceremony or something like that, or anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, if they're dressing up, yeah, I guess we probably have plays and stuff like that.
Mhm.
That would kind of show what happened on Unification Day,
Yeah, I'm just
so that
throwing
they
that
don't
out there.
forget. They don't forget why the elves and the lizard folk banded
Yeah.
together.
Is there any pageantry with Oberon's Day that's connected to Midsummer's Night Dream?
Um, really hadn't thought of that far ahead of that, but that sounds pretty cool. I'll have to
Oh, I was just
work some of
thinking
that
of,
in.
like mummer plays or just the
Mhm.
fanciful things, because immediately I think Oberon, I just think of just lavish,
Right.
otherworldly ruckuses.
And like alien beauty almost
Yeah.
to a degree. Yeah.
You said solemn, but I
Yeah.
could see that. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So
So
yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe have to throw in some Midsummer Night Dream in it.
uh, so is that it for your holidays for
That's
this region?
that's it for Jubilar. I don't
Okay.
didn't write a whole book on it yet. I'm thinking.
Yeah. Oh, come on, man. You only had a whole year.
Yeah, exactly.
any special food or like holiday treats?
Well, the fish fry, obviously, during the spring solstice, a lot of people will be vegetarian for like the week of and the week before, out of respect for the forest creatures, but nothing like Turkey Day or anything like that. No Thanksgiving dinners.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, kind of respect of nature kind of thing like that. So yeah, that's awesome. So okay. Well, Ian, sir, what you got?
So we can pop on down to Region S, or that would be the nation of the Croaky. So I've got a couple of things here to highlight. The two major civilizations that are here are, of course, the Croaky proper, which are the frog-like humanids that inhibit the cave system, but not having gotten a lot of attention are the worm cultists, people that venerate the Chthonian giant worm-like demigod that haunts the hills of this wet tropical rainforesty area. One of their major holidays to honor their dark god, who she is still in a state of dormancy and sleeping, but perpetually being fed and placated, would be the Days of Hunger, which is a period that is full of competitions, feats of strength, and feats of cunning. And the winners of those competitions compete for the honor of being sacrificed directly to the maw of the Great Mother. The people who are in the last place of these competitions are either fed to lesser insectoid servitors or have the dishonor of getting more responsibility within the encampments, being shackled with extra work until the next feat of games, where perhaps they can get the honor of feeding the Great Mother.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It's just better like next year. It's all right.
Yeah.
Again.
You get to live another year. There you go. Okay.
But in shame, don't forget. They lose all their honor.
Yeah.
Exactly. I just like the imagining of just people out in a really fetid mud plain, just wrestling almost to the death. Like, no, I'm gonna get sacrificed. No, I'm gonna get sacrificed.
I imagine something like Joe versus the volcano. Yeah, huge parties going on for those that are going to be sacrificed and stuff like that. So,
Exactly. So that period is at least like a week long of just frenetic activity. The croquis themselves are constantly immersed in song and in poetry and have a very lyrical like civilization. So they have tons of minor holidays throughout the year to commemorate this story or that story. Some of the more major ones that commemorate some of the more major events that have occurred. One of them is just simply called like Heavenfall, which commemorates the falling of their progenitor, this kind of Surimi-like toad that carried the croquis purportedly from the stars to the continent. So her petrified form is at the very bottom of the deepest tunnels within the first of the cave systems, the first and originating place for the croquis. And during that festival, they sang all of the paeans to her and do homage to her by reciting to her all the new stories that have happened to the tribe since the last commemoration. That way, she is always kept in communion with how the people themselves have been evolving and how her great sacrifice has kept these people alive. So it's a tradition of community where people have a pilgrimage to where her form is, which some people would speculate may or may not just be a geological formation that happens to look very much like a very large toad. But to them, it is definitely their goddess incarnate in rock form. So people pay homage and leave their tributes to the statue.
Just out of curiosity, is there like some kind of lore or anything like that for the hopeful return, like in a time of peril or something like that, of the great mother toad? Or
hadn't thought of that. I kind of just imagine it being like a passive deity-like figure that they recognize that she is no longer of this world, having been spent with the voyage from beyond the spheres to here. But that would be something interesting to explore, if that might be some type of area of discontention, perhaps in the future, if like there might be some type of cult or sub faction that arises from that,
or just some kind of cataclysm or something like that that would happen, where they pray to her for salvation or something.
Absolutely.
So.
One of the other major civil events that would also be commemorated, their titles for things tend to be long-winded and very overly floridly poetic. So one of their other traditions would be Days of the Worm, Night of the Teeth, which commemorates one of the major cave systems falling to the worm cultists. So it is a period of lamentation, but also military drills, tales of courage, rituals to honor the fallen, as a way to have like military games and other things to boost morale and make sure that their people are constantly in fighting force. So it has kind of a dual function with that.
Well, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Yeah, especially that they have that. The thing that I find funny is like you said, the kind of I don't know, just the eloquence that they have for these long titles and things like that. I can imagine that a festival or something like that, or a night of remembrance like that, or these long soliloquies and stuff.
Absolutely.
Like that.
If you look in the document at the time, like their timeline of how they see the world and their events marked, it's just full of line items of just like, this is how they see things. And they're just florid. Like the house is raised and the Dark Mother is not pleased, referring to one of the conquests that happened with the worm cultists, or the second journey and the second chord's foundation. Like, it's just like, it's excessive and gratuitous, but
Hey. Well, I mean, that's part of their identity, man. So
yeah.
that's cool. That is cool. So anything else for this region that you got going on as far as festivals or anything like that?
There are lots of just minor ones that we can use to fill in for at the end, because they have, being constantly immersed in song. For people who haven't seen the previous episodes, the worm cultists, part of their effect is that their giant Chthonian worm creature is constantly emitting a kind of droning, keening wail on a psychic level that affects people and slowly, corrupts them and to the will of the worm. So the croaky themselves, being frog people, are constantly singing and chirping just like frogs do. So they're constantly singing and versed in song. So there are just periods too within the transition of the seasons where they have certain song sets that they use to both commemorate the changing of seasons, but also just ward off the effects of the worm cultists. Oh, actually, one of the other major things that's worth mentioning is, because this has a lot of elevation looking at the map, they had a tradition of these stone formations. They roughly looked like frog, like themselves, given also titles like the poet, the wanderer, the warrior, the friend, the stranger. And due to the seismic activity of the mountain chain that's above them, they constantly roll down. So at the end of one cycle, there is a great tradition of pushing them back up, very laborious, to the very top of the mountain range, where they can go through these cycles over time. So that is something that might happen over a 50-year period, just depending on the seismic activity. But the process of bringing them up is also just as long as arduous as them rolling down very slowly.
Sure. What is the Greek equivalent of that with mythology? Sisyphus?
Sisyphus.
Yeah. That's what that reminds me of. That's pretty cool.
But in the end, they were happy.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't a
these
punishment.
blocks,
So
these giant stone shaped things, where do they end up when they start to go back up? Like where would they start their journey to go
So
back?
they would start right at the beginning of the map, where it transitions from the mountainous kind of ochre color to the green of the mountainous rainforest, and they go all the way down to Thunder K. Depending on how they roll, there is a tradition of using, kind of having like augury with it, or at least a little bit of forecasting. If certain of these stones, one is rolling further than another, and that might be a prediction that war might be coming in the future if the warrior is out in front and the friend is last, or if the poet is wandering in a very different direction than it normally would, then that might mean a age of exploration or something unexpected might be coming. So it's a little bit unpredicted how they might roll down. But they will eventually get to the cliff edges that overlook Thunder K.
Cool.
that is cool. So yeah, that's one thing I like about your region. It is just like, you got this steeped lore that you have about the croaky. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Well, thanks.
So John, what do you have for us in your other region?
Yep. Up in the northeast, there's Humany, the sweetest smelling nation in all of Socium.
Is there a fragrance festival?
No. So Humany, of course, they're from another plane, right? They're from some other plane of existence. They came through a portal that is now one of the central temples of Bastion. It's kind of covered up by these. It's actually underneath the temple, but Bastion was built over it, and so now that's a huge city. It has Middle Eastern look and feel to that city. So it looks like mosques and things like that. The thing about the Bastion, so they worship in Humany, they worship Saint Ig almost exclusively. Anything else is heresy and must be put down. The Saint Ig has several religious holidays. One would be the birth of Saint Ig. And on Saint Ig's birthday, they have a celebratory feast and worship the fact that he was a human, but then sacrificed himself and became a deity through this great sacrifice where he opened the portal to this world to save the humans from their home world, and his magic that he gave with his sacrifice is what kept the portal open so that the humans could get through. So they celebrate his birth, and then they celebrate on the day of him opening the portal. The annual event of that gets celebrated as what do they call it? They call it Liberation Day. So Liberation Day is when they were liberated from the tyranny of their home world, which was under control by lycanthropes, and humans were very close to the brink of extinction, or at least becoming a subjugated race of the lycanthropes, and would basically have no freedom whatsoever. So when they came through the portal, of course they still worship Saint Ig through that. And then also there is another holiday that they worship that is a day that the humans won back the forest from Tar. They call it Forest Day because they won the forest, or at least they think they did. That's still a contested area, really, but currently there's a very iffy piece going on around that.
Sure.
But go ahead.
Are there any remains of Saint Ig left?
No, he was actually taken up into the heavens during this transformation where the portal opened. Apparently that killed him, but also elevated him into he ascended, according to them, into godhood through that. Now they do have clerics, so they're getting their power somehow, whether or not it's a pretender deity or through Saint Ig himself. No one really knows.
Ooh, I was going to ask if that was propaganda or if it's all just a big cover-up, but I like the ambiguity.
Yeah, that they are keeping something secret. There is the high priests are aware of something wrong with the portal. But they're not letting other people know about this. And that is actually going to be the focus of one of the adventures I'm planning on writing.
Oh, okay.
So.
Cool.
And since you said there is a feast today for Saint Ig, not to reuse the same question, but cultures are very interesting how they are represented through food and their traditions. Is there a special thing about the Saint Ig Fest? Like it's an egg cake, or it's like something, to commemorate, like this is his body and we're eating it. Like, is there a special thing like portal shaped cookies?
I think it would probably be a feast of like lots of meats, lots of sausages, real heavy, lots of drinking, and normally they don't, indulge in things like alcohol and whatnot. It's not that they don't have it. It's just, it's frowned upon because they're kind of a chaste society in general.
Mm-hmm.
But they go hog wild on on the
Saint
birth
Ig
of
Day.
Saint Ig's Day. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Good for Saint Ig Day.
yeah. I guess it becomes like Oktoberfest or something
Kind of like that. Yes.
Yigtoberfest. Don't you blaspheme, David.
Nice, nice.
So,
Okay. What are some other features about the Saint Ig Day and stuff like that? I mean,
they like to they will now they'll put up these symbols, the holy symbol of Saint Ig, which is a red cross on a white field, and it has a radiated kind of like glow. Well, the artist will usually draw little lines out, making it look like it glows, which partly represents the portal, but mainly represents a sacrifice.
Mhm.
That he gave up his life in order to make the portal so that they could all be free.
Sure.
So they'll hang these up all over the nation during that time, more so
Okay.
than usual. They'll hang them on trees too. So I don't want to get too close to the Christmas aspect of it, but because they do want that to be visible, they'll put it up high. So a lot of times they'll put it on trees. They'll hang it from there.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll
Cool.
make little towers, or I guess to put things up on. You'll see them on flags and whatnot.
Okay.
There's a lot of, I guess that day becomes a pretty a nationalistic type thing in some respects, because the religion is itself, it's kind of the nation, or it's indistinguishable, because it is a religious based nation. So it also ties into the whole patriotism during that time.
Uh-oh. Religious nationalism. Here
I was
we go.
gonna say, remind me, is it a theocracy?
Yeah, it's a theocracy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I thought. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The priests are basically in charge of everything. And then
Got
they have the paladins that run around and enforce the purge, or what did I call it? They basically wipe out non-humans.
Oh, when you say the purge, I was just imagining like right after Saint Ig, you hear these sirens go off, and
Yeah, everybody locks
Not that
themselves in
purge.
their house.
yell at your neighbor.
That's
No,
funny.
but they just, so the paladins run around. I forgot what I called it, but they basically run around and kill non-humans that aren't in compliance with so there are a few non-human, we'll call them settlements or whatever, that are within the nation of humanity that are paying their tributes, they're paying their taxes, they're being subservient to the humans that own the properties and whatnot. But then there's some that try to go rogue or whatever, and that's when the paladins get sent in to fix it, to fix the problem.
Gotcha. Kind of like a Templars or something like that.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. That is cool. All right. Anything else, or that's it?
That's pretty much all I can think of.
Okay.
I'm sure there are some holidays on the underground part. I just haven't thought of any, but like the resistance,
Mhm.
because there is a resistance, especially in the underdark. There's a vast amount of caverns under humanity that are live, that where like different kind of dark elves live and whatnot.
Mhm.
And that area is a very much a resistance against the humans on the surface. So they have their own holidays. I
Okay.
just haven't gotten into that part yet when I started writing it.
Sure. You have time. So, no worries. So, Ian, sir, what do you have for us in your next area?
All right, more west. There we go.
Go west.
All right, young man. So, couple of different things that happen on this island. So, again, this is a very sparsely populated island, a burgeoning population, or I guess really a nascent population, building a new port to the south, with a little bit of a indigenous population within the riot to the west, or just a very heavy, overgrown area. The most notable holidays that or festivals that happen in this region, one is a more of a secret tradition, but within that Druidic society that's in that redemption grove are the Days of Atonement. So these are the people that had descended from the few survivors of the giant cataclysm of the society or the civilization that once dominated this peninsula and enslaved what is now called Kaizen. So being shackled to the sins of their fathers, they are trying to rehabilitate this island and rehabilitate all of their walking dead of their own people. There's a lot of guilt complex going on. So they have the Days of Atonement, which is a period of fasting, self-flagellation, or other types of actions of apology and redemption. So it's both a communal tradition that there is airings and rectifying of grievances. There are things that the clans do together, but then it's also very private and inward as well to overcome their own sins and the sins of their bloodline. So that's something that's really not known by anyone else but that endemic culture, but it still plays a prominent but very subtle role in the island, since it's these people here that are influencing the people of Newport. Newport has been resettled multiple times because these druids have been trying to shun and push everyone out of the island through very subtle means, because they still want to rehabilitate and extinguish and erase all of the lingering damage that's been done to this island, as well as the lingering taints of the elder god that destroy the island. So it's this tradition that both it affects a lot of things very subtly. So if someone were to infiltrate that or witness that, that would be a pretty large event for both the indigenous druidic society, but then whoever stumbled upon it as well. As far as traditions of the settlement, which would be more of like player facing, there are a couple of different ones. One of them is just a simple kind of a Founders Day of commemorating when Newport was refounded. It's just kind of an excuse to celebrate. It's a kind of a big huzzah that happens every year. It's just a one-day feasting period and period of wild activity. What's more interesting is that there is a more cyclical event that's almost like that happens about every 3 months, and it's just called Still Here. And it was started off as a funny tradition because people would last in this area because they either have terrible nightmares because of the influence of the ruins. They would be grabbed by the horrible undead shambling things that have been drowned in acid bogs, or they would be subtly attacked by the plant creatures of the druids. So a lot of people just haven't lasted. So when people lasted 3 months, they were kind of officiated as, hey, you're still here, you're part of our community, and to be celebrated. So it's the largest non-official celebration that happens all the time, but it's just kind of this riotous event. Just happens, starts at, sun goes down every 3 months, feasting, tons of drinking, wild activity, and then it's gone by the morning. But it's just the Still Here.
Once a quarter, right?
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
I'm imagining songs kind of like Rare Earths. I just want to celebrate, I just want to celebrate. I was
going to say, like, you hear like just tons of drinking songs happening throughout the entire city during that, every 3 months, just wild day.
Yeah, that is pretty cool, actually. That sounds like that would be fun. So, yeah.
Are any like cultists that worship the elder one that have their own like holiday on the island?
So that's something that I've been trying to explore about how to develop that. And it's something that I'm not exactly sure if I still want there to be any really lingering cultists, or if there might be some semi-sentient of those undead that still go through the motions of the previous holy days of the ancient civilization. But I have been thinking about one of the things that was covered in a previous episode is like kind of religious thoughts and feelings. And there is the concept of the lament, which is sadness made manifest because of the constant tragedy that is kind of perfusing this land. The forlorn sound that the wind makes when it goes over the blighted ruins that pepper the whole island, the shipwrecks and other things that have claimed lives. So people themselves have both psychosomatically, but then possibly maybe also there, they see the lament or a manifestation of sorrow that kind of haunts the place. So that's one of the things I discussed previously, was a burgeoning cults that the government, fledgling government, is trying to stamp down. But I was thinking about having private holidays for laments, or your own kind of ritualistic days of sorrow that people celebrate to hope that either ward off and dismiss the lament, or to embrace it and worship it as a force.
I don't know why, but I'm just getting visions of Hellraiser in my mind, man. Yeah, the lamentations and stuff like that. So
is this the elder god here, the same one that's
under Kaizen?
No,
so in the history of this, the long story short, so time short, the civilization that ruled this place, they worshiped this elder thing that had come from the stars during that time of cataclysm that formed this world, and they grew very there was a lot of folly to them. They thought at some point, after they made all this advanced technology based off the creature's magic, they didn't need to worship and do their tithes and other things. So it said, you know what, if you're not going to worship and follow by the agreements, I'm just going to nuke your people, and I'm going to be your source of power for the people that you enslaved. So the god that destroyed this whole place and left this a ruckus is actually still alive and underneath Mount Kaizen.
Okay.
So it's still a very real force. So I think that's something that Spencer and I'll have to explore, if that provides like clerical abilities, or if that's going to be more the realm of sorcerers. If we're writing this out in like a 5e capacity, I guess it depends on the rule set.
Yeah, that'd be a good collaboration between the two of you. Perhaps tie it into an adventure or something like that.
Heck, if I know Frank loves his D and or D, but I mean, this would be ripe for DCC. That'd be a perfect patron.
Oh yeah. So this is cool. Anything else you want to point out for your festivals or holidays or anything like that, or days of lament and stuff like that?
I kind of like the concept of, like, I like how you were saying Hellraiser kind of like motif. I see it as like a shrouded figure, like red robes, or I guess dark robes, just kind of like slowly moving through things, like
oh yeah, that's what I was envisioning, man.
Yeah,
like the Cenobites or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be interesting to write some adventures for this due to the ruins and having, acidic bog ruins and all kinds of weird things lurking, riotous wild plant life, druids trying to experiment with basically re-terraforming and trying to neutralize the acidic bogs and bring back biodiversity. So there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah, the Scorned Isles.
Yeah,
it just kind of. Yeah, it's almost like a domain of dread, is what it sounds like sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. That's not a bad way to put it.
I'm thinking that just surviving on this island would be an adventure in and of itself.
Oh yeah,
it's how to survive. Yeah.
Hey, if you make it 3 months,
if you make it 3
drinks
months,
on me.
You get that's it.
Get to level up.
That's it. Or God, like that game that Kevin and I played, the only way to level up was to die because you were constantly reborn and stuff like that. So
That's cool.
oh man, this is awesome. This is awesome. We really had a great time with seeing what you guys came up with, for the world of Socium and stuff like that. So looking back, since this is our last episode, I mean, what are some of the things that you really liked about the Socium project? Either Ian or John.
I think it's just interesting to see all of this come together and to have blank hexes and to see how people interpret those.
Mhm.
There's that kind of TAT/Rorschach element of like, this is how I would see it. And then it's interesting to hear someone else say, no, this is how I've written it. Why would there be this hex by this hex when in our modern, in our world, that wouldn't maybe make logical sense, but it's
Right.
because of this magical cataclysm, or these people did this type of work to the land to turn it in this way. So
Sure.
that's fascinating, turning the patterns, these completely chaotic patterns that Frank made into very complex and interesting narratives. So that's been one of my favorite things.
Yeah, the narratives have definitely been great seeing what you guys come up with. But like you said, I mean, I was one of the creators in the beginning, but I shifted into the more of a host mode.
You
and
do
just
an
that
excellent job as a host. I don't know if people tell you that enough.
Yeah.
You do a
Aw.
bang
I
up
do.
job, David.
You asked a
Well,
lot of
thank
good
you.
questions.
I'm
I didn't
not
mean
as
to cut you
eloquent
off.
as Frank,
Oh,
but
twice his hands.
thanks. I'll take that. I'll take what I can get. No, but just like transitioning when I handed off the regions to you and Jason, just seeing what you guys came up with. I mean, that was amazing, So, everybody who's been associated with the project has been a pretty prolific creator. I mean, and
Yeah.
very, just some of the wild ideas you guys came up
One of
with,
the- One of the things I really have enjoyed is that a lot of people have taken upon themselves to create nations or places within their nation that caused conflict and that aren't super happy, fun places, but because they cause conflict, they make the setting more interesting. And I think that it will become very interesting to see some of these adventures that get done in some of these places that aren't like super friendly places.
right.
So
Well, yeah, I think conflict is like the staple to adventure and role-playing games, I mean, it's part of it. I mean, unless you're creating something that was like the old video game Myst, where it's just exploration,
right.
So, but yeah.
This book.
Exactly. Like
And the
this candle.
cultures have been very diverse. There have been a lot of unique cultures throughout everybody's different places. And I really like that because it makes for a more interesting setting, I think.
Yeah, some people came up with some pretty interesting diversity, especially Jeff with the Tor. It's just like, go Tor, Minotaur, just bunny tars. Yeah. So it's pretty funny.
It'll be interesting to see when Frank develops the schedule of events for the next phase, the adventures that will run, and what system, what level, or what assets, and eventually, how this will all be put together as a resource for people to use.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm not quite sure what our time schedule is like as far as getting these adventures out, because that's all going to coincide with all our campaigns and things like that we have going on regularly. But yeah, it should really be interesting. And this is going to be a great resource. I mean, it's just like, Frank is a prolific writer. I mean, he's written, all of these adventures. I mean, what I mean is it's almost like Michael Douglas and Wonder Boys. He just cannot stop writing, but So I mean, this is interesting to see this collaborative project that we're just going to get all these adventures out of. Probably it'll span another year, at
Yeah, I
least
would think.
with trying to get these adventures out. So,
Could easily.
I'm
but
looking for
definitely this has been a great project. So unfortunately, we didn't have Spencer's input for tonight, but he'll definitely have an opportunity once the adventures start rolling out and stuff like that. Because I'm pretty sure, I mean, with the whole pool of murder hobos that we have, I mean, yeah, we're all going to be able to jump into, these adventures, and get things going. So as far as GMing or DMing the adventures and all that, I guess that's just going to be upon the creators, I guess, of the regions and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
I'm happy to run some things.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be great too. Yeah.
We'll make you a player, David. You'll get to transition from host to player.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it, man. So
hey, if you ever want to pop on as a guest player on my podcast, every Wednesday run something interesting. So feel free.
Definitely. I've
Sounds
been
pretty
making
cool.
more room to explore, just different aspects and different shows and podcasts and stuff like that. So definitely. So, all right. Well, I guess, Frank, we're going to be taking ourselves out of here. So thanks for tuning in tonight, folks, for our Socium project. This was the last hurrah as far as the world building. It's been great. It's been awesome listening to John and Ian, what they came up with as far as their holidays. And this has just been a great project. And I'm really looking forward to the adventures that are about to begin with this. So again, let me thank our sponsors, Oddfish Games and Pirate Dog Dice. If you want good dice, contact us. Contact Carrie at Pirate Dog Dice. She'll hook you up. She does commissions, so those are great. Oddfish Games, our creator of Adventure Sense, how to RPG with your cat. Also, the Shine system and the Radiance system, writing systems. But the thing that I definitely should have mentioned in the beginning, but I'm saving it for the end, and that's what I'm sticking to, is Murder HoboCon 3. Yes, that is going to be February 11th, 2023. So it's coming up soon. The weather's getting cold, so why not spend a Saturday just gaming with us? It's a great deal, $6, and you can game all day. I mean, with the amount of participants that we've been having for Murder HoboCon, I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, for $6, you can literally play all day. There's so many games to jump into.
It's three times the backstabbing of the other murder hobos. So
yeah, exactly. So
I do all my stabbing in the front in my games.
That's it.
See them coming.
So it is also for charity. We don't make any profit off of this. I mean, as soon as the bills are paid for everything that we need to kick this off, everything else goes to charity. We're going to reveal who our charity is soon. I mean, we're still looking at different possibilities, but one of the things that's different this year is the virtual environment that we have. Last year we used Topia. This year the virtual environment that we're using it's great. It's almost like a 8-bit game or something like that. Oh, I forgot the name of it.
Gather Round? Because
something like that.
Not Gather Round. Because I just went to Wormfest and they used that, or one of the 8-bit ones, because there's two major competitors, and it was sorry, Toby. It was a lot smoother, both mobile and on computer, and the functionality was it was really good. So.
Oh yeah, the functionality of this, I mean, this would work for just an adventure setting, if you want to run like an adventure in it and use it as a virtual tabletop. I mean, that's fun. Yeah, it's great. It's great for that. So I see a lot of potential in this, and we'll see how it goes this year. And I mean, pretty much, Frank loves it. So he loves world building in it. So this will be interesting to see. So anyway, folks, that's it for tonight for the Socium project. Thank you again for tuning in, and tune in again next time to find out when these adventures are going to kick off. So they'll be happening soon. So all right, everybody, big kiss and wave goodbye, and have a good night, folks. Frank, take us
Adventures in Filbar. For all your role-playing needs, try the free stuff first.